If you've been thinking about moving to Jacksonville, this video will be very useful to you. A city with a lot of nature, separated from Georgia by the St. Mary's River. It is the extreme northeast corner of Florida, and it is the largest city in the United States by landmass. Some of the locals say it's the murder capital of Florida. However, we looked at some statistics, and it's about average. Being a massive city, all that crime is kind of concentrated in the city core, and it is a very dangerous city. Some of our subscribers have mentioned being robbed there. Gas stations at night are really dangerous. You may go to a gas station and decide maybe you don't need gas that badly anymore. It is the largest city in the state of Florida, Duval County. At the intersection of Interstate 95 and Interstate 10, the St. Johns River, which flows northward instead of southward. Very strange. A football team with incredibly colorful, beautiful uniforms, but that's about it. About 20% of the homes hitting the market in Jacksonville are being bought by investors. That is never a good thing. Jacksonville used to have the most affordable housing in the state of Florida. However, now that investors are fighting for this real estate, it seems like it is no longer the most affordable place to live in Florida. The reason it was the most affordable place in Florida is because of how dangerous the residential neighborhoods can be. And now that at least 20% of those properties are going to be guaranteed to be rentals because they're being bought by investors, can't get any better. The surrounding area of Jacksonville makes it one of the best places in Florida if you're into nature and waterways. And the high crime rate guarantees that the downtown district is like empty half the time because people are just scared to walk through there. One of my favorite things about driving through Jacksonville is the interstate system that divides the city and the beautiful, massive, tall bridges that give you incredible views of the waterways below. It is absolutely amazing. But there's more to the city than just waterways and high crime. On this video, we're going to show you everything you need to know about the city. Like every other town in Florida, you have YouTubers that make videos about Jacksonville, but they're trying to sell you a house, so they're not going to show you the hood like I will. Bunch of goofy realtors. Relax though, that's why I'm here to tell you the truth, the good and the bad. I grew up on the streets of Chicago, and my wife, Michelle, lived on O Block. Man, I had no idea I could do just a good Obama imitation. I gotta make some prank calls tomorrow and take advantage of this. St. Johns County to the south is the second wealthiest county in the state of Florida. Recently, a lot of people relocating from Miami have moved to Jacksonville for affordability. Latinos are a majority to a good percentage of most large cities in Florida, with the exception of Jacksonville. However, it seems like the Latino population, especially Cubans and Puerto Ricans, are starting to move into Jacksonville as they're being outpriced of other markets, which has also been a contributing factor to home prices increasing in Jacksonville even before the current madness. Spot 'em, got 'em. Compared to other large cities in Florida, you'll find that Jacksonville is very affordable, and getting business licenses is not as complicated as in other places. It's a pretty easy city to make it if you can find something decent and affordable. Get yourself a business license, start working and making some money, moving to the hood, dawg. Being close to the deep south, Jacksonville has a little bit more country in it than most other cities in Florida as well. They have several breeds of rednecks, like the West Jacksonville Trailer Park redneck, the living in the hood but still a redneck, and the move to Jacksonville because there's too many dang people that don't speak English in Miami redneck. So if you're looking for rednecks, crime, affordability, and waterways, this is pretty much the place for you. Milder weather than most of the other large cities in Florida. It's a very distinctive city. Orlando, Miami, Tampa, they have a lot in common. Jacksonville, it's its own beast. Similar to Charleston, similar to Savannah, Georgia. You wonder why this is even part of Florida to begin with. It ought to be like South Carolina at this point. Later on in the video, we'll talk about the city's history and you'll understand why it's part of Florida. All the way down to St. Augustine is some of the most beautiful places in the entire state of Florida. And a lot of the great things to do in this area aren't really within the city of Jacksonville, but it's all the great stuff surrounding it. I actually got to meet a real-life celebrity that lives in Jacksonville. Many years ago, I had to sleep in the Walmart parking lot downtown, and I got to meet the guy that's on YouTube that goes, "Come on, man, give me my dollar, man, come on, man, give my dollar, man." And while we were sleeping, I hear a knock on the window and look at this guy, and he's like, "Come on, man,
Come on, give me my dollar, man.
Then we drove off. Then I looked in the rearview mirror, and he was like,
Come on, man, I need to buy a beer, man.
but he already had a beer. He didn't need another one. The first few times that I visited Jacksonville, I didn't really think too much of the city. Coming back a few times and getting familiar with the surrounding area, the waterways, the islands, little parts of Georgia nearby, St. Augustine. Once you get to understand the entire area surrounding Jacksonville, is when you really start to love the place. Jacksonville is a very proud city. The people that are from there really love their hometown. And when I first did my Jacksonville videos, they were so happy that I went there and I looked at their hoods. So we've had a lot of love and support from Jacksonville. So hey, thank you for the love and support. So if you're moving to Jacksonville and you're able to afford the better areas, anything along A1A, between Jacksonville Beach and St. Augustine is going to be just incredible, beautiful stuff. That's really the nicest part of Jacksonville from a residential point of view. I also like St. Mary's, Georgia, which is actually on the other side of St. Mary's River. Predominantly along the coast and in St. Johns County are the better parts. Along the north side of the city, Yulee is really nice, and so is Fernandina Beach on Amelia Island. Other than that, the northwest side of the city and the west side of the city, there's not much out there. Baldwin is pretty crappy, and most of the west side of the city is just kind of like rural, crappy areas and mobile homes and just shady little areas. And a lot of the small towns that are kind of west of 301, you have a lot of drugs out there. They're great little towns, don't get me wrong. They really are like real small little towns, great people, but they're struggling with a lot of stuff out there. Like literally as soon as you get outside of the Jacksonville area, you're in North rural Florida. But if you want to be in a nicer, safer, cleaner area along the coast, it's probably going to be more adaptable for you. Because like I said, the west side of Jacksonville, it's country, it's small town. It's just really southern and maybe more than you can handle if you're not used to that. The city has an incredible food scene, especially if you like Southern American soul food. Barbecue, I think Jacksonville has some of the best barbecue in the entire state of Florida. Possibly even in the country. And when you think about Jacksonville, you don't really think about barbecue, but trust me, there are some great barbecue places in Jacksonville. And even though it's not the most Latin American city, it does have great Cuban and other Latino restaurants. And then there's incredible seafood as well. So when it comes to Jacksonville and getting fat and overweight and eating good stuff, the city is really unrivaled. It's got great options, really good stuff, especially their barbecue. And it's not just the food, it's like the way the houses are laid out and the neighborhoods and everything. It's a real hometown. Like even though it's a big city, it feels like a small town because the way everything's laid out. It's an awesome city. If it wasn't for the massive crime problem that Jacksonville has, it could hands down be the best city in Florida. It's just the safety. Can't emphasize that enough. The drive between Jacksonville Beach and Villano Beach, heading towards St. Augustine, is one of the best drives in the entire state of Florida. You can see the water all along the coast, beautiful beach homes, sand dunes, incredible wildlife, nature, plants. It's gorgeous. Let's talk a little bit more about the hoods in Jacksonville. And it is one of the most affordable places in Florida. Does that mean that every person that lives in the hood is bad or is a criminal? Absolutely not. Jacksonville has some of the friendliest, most awesome people you're ever going to meet. People that are fun. They'll bring a smile to your face. They're warm. They're genuine. They're great people in Jacksonville. Genuine and warm, and they're great people. But the city still has this problem with crime. And you just have to be alert. You don't have to judge everybody there for being bad. Because like I said, my interactions with people in Jacksonville have been great. When I go out to restaurants, they're just like full of life and they're always happy. Some of the happiest people you're going to meet right in Jacksonville. Tell you guys a little story. And I don't know Jacksonville all that great, but I imagine this could happen in Jacksonville. This happened to me in Montgomery, Alabama. So I was in North Montgomery, a very dangerous neighborhood. And there's this one house that had a tree falling over it, and I was interested in a car that was in the garage. But this older white lady lived there by herself. She was very elderly. I had these two young kids come up. They're African American, and they're like, yo, why you bothering this lady? Like, they were protecting her. Like, literally, it's this old white lady that just happened to live in this really bad neighborhood. And when I went in there, I'm an outsider. They don't know who I am. And I kind of got close to her house. I had two young black kids come up in their car, pop the trunk on me, and say, yo, what's good? So don't always assume that here's this old white lady, and for some reason she earned the respect and admiration and love of her neighborhood, because here I am, an outsider, going to her house, and the people in the neighborhood were like, yo, don't bother her. You know what I mean? They might have thought I was trying to take advantage of her or victimize her, and they weren't having it. So sometimes if you're an outsider, you might judge these neighborhoods a certain way, and you just don't understand what's really going on there. You don't understand their struggles. You don't understand what they go through. So as an outsider, it's easy to say, yes, there's high crime rate, it's a bad area, but you don't really understand what that community goes through, and that it is in fact a community. I just had to share that story with you guys. St. Augustine, one of the first cities founded in the United States, a city with architecture, history, incredible vibes. It is a must destination in your lifetime. You have to see this place. If you went to school in the Northeast, they told you that Jamestown was the first city founded in the Americas. However, if you went to school in Florida like I did, they taught you something a little bit different. Turns out that St. Augustine was clearly the first established settlement in the United States at the hands of the Spaniards, and it makes sense if you read the history books. So here is where it's not what happened in history, but who's telling the story. In Florida, they say St. Augustine was the first founded city, and in the Northeast, the English will teach you something a little different. But in reality, St. Augustine is a much older city. In the 1490s, the Spaniards start to discover and explore the Caribbean islands and Florida. Because of its unique geographical location, the San Marcos Castillo was chosen as the site for this protective fort because it made sense there. The water was deep, it was naturally protected. It made sense compared to some of the other sites along Florida, which were much less protected, out in the open. This was really the perfect site for a settlement. The English and the Spanish, back then as today, did not get along very well. The Spaniards were willing to mix with the natives and also the freed slaves or the escaped slaves. This did not stand very well with the English, who thought that they owned those people. The St. Mary's River separated the English in Georgia from the Spanish in Florida, and there was constantly conflicts along that divisive line in their Castillo de San Marcos or vicinity. These conflicts would become so severe that when Florida was given to the English, one of the primary problems that the Spanish were having with the English involved escaped slaves. Eventually, Florida would trade hands back to the English, and the Spanish and their friends went to Cuba. Therefore, many enslaved people that escaped and joined the Spanish in Florida ended up leaving with the Spanish to Cuba. At that time, Florida wasn't that important for the Spanish. The ports of Havana, Cuba, Santiago de Cuba, and San Juan, Puerto Rico were much more important. They were naturally protected, they were much deeper, and they were along the trade winds and trading routes that they needed to get their gold out of Peru and South America, and Florida just wasn't an attractive location for them. Of course, the English had a very difficult time convincing their macaroni hat wearing friends there in Virginia that they should move to a mosquito infested swamp in Florida. And even when Florida technically became part of the English, there really weren't too many English wanting to be here unless they were kind of forced to be here. They wanted to be in Virginia, wearing those white fluffy wigs and hanging out with women, drinking wine. Who the crap wants to be in a swamp before the invention of air conditioning, right? Well, even after Florida becomes English, it still holds on to a lot of its Spanish, because literally the Spanish and Cuban fishermen who would come along the coast of Florida were the only people tough enough to really bear this place. There's a little place right outside of Jacksonville on Amelia Island. This place definitely needs to be on your list of places you need to visit. Fernandina Beach in Jacksonville. It's historic, it's beautiful, there's great little restaurants, there's incredible views. This place is beautiful, it's packed with history. And well, like we had said earlier in the video, the reason that Jacksonville is part of Florida is because it is south of the St. Mary's River, and because of that divisive line between the Spanish and the English there, it had to be part of Florida when Florida became a state. It just made sense. But in reality, this region of Florida really feels like the Carolinas a lot. The vibes, the history, the way things are laid out, the whole coastal area of Jacksonville feels so much like Charleston and Savannah. You'll definitely notice things in common and similar between these regions. For the most part, this is a slow speed area. There's no rush. People are really just enjoying the waterways and relaxing. It's not as hectic as other Florida cities as well. Could it be because it's closer to the south, or could it be because of the coastal vibes? Either way, Jacksonville is definitely a little bit slower. For one, it's actually got an interstate system that makes sense, and a beltway. A lot of these Florida cities don't have that. And they likely never will, which means that even if Jacksonville were to continue to grow, it would still not be a hectic place to live. Just like the other cities in Florida, Jacksonville doesn't have the best job opportunities. An economy that's partially based on tourism. Sometimes these coastal communities are just downright empty during parts of the year. Now, while the backwaters of Jacksonville are among the best in Florida, the sands and the beaches, not as much. The water here just isn't as clear as further down the coast. When you get to about West Palm Beach and Jupiter, that water turns a beautiful clear color. You just don't have that as far north as Jacksonville. And Jacksonville Beach is kind of a party destination. But there are still quiet corners in that area, like this little spot right here where you can just kind of relax and just look at the water. The beach is the beach no matter what. Of course, it's not as great as other beaches in Florida, like Panama City Beach or West Palm Beach, but it's still nice to have beaches in Jacksonville. So there it is. In some ways, it's great, and in some ways, it needs to improve. While the beaches are not the clearest water, there is still so much water to enjoy. If you like to canoe and kayak and fish, you may really love Jacksonville. If you like to walk extensive downtowns and fine dining, this may not be the place for you. If you like good southern food, in particular barbecue, Jacksonville is hard to beat. It's a neat city with cool neighborhoods that is still affordable for Florida, but also a city dealing with a lot of inner city violence. The last few years have been horrible, and Jacksonville's living up to its nasty nickname, the murder capital of Florida. And it's kind of a compromise between the Carolinas and Florida if you just can't make your mind up. If people were moving into these neighborhoods and buying these houses to live in, it would definitely change for the better. But with so many investors buying these homes to speculate in neighborhoods that already have a bunch of other problems, it is questionable whether the future of Jacksonville will be an attractive one for people looking to relocate. Nonetheless, it's an incredible city that I love and cannot wait to go back to again.